It always comes to this. More nice shit. Morning guys, back again to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I showed off the stretch of my outer bicep closer to the inside here, and some of this like weird elbow region in here that I had worked on again with Rick. Most of this is starting to flake now, so it looks like a pretty good result, but we'll see how it goes. It's always the case. It's like you just work on it until you get there, right? So I had a little bit of like scabbing in here. You can see it's still dry, but it's healing. And where there is scabbing, it's a little bit like white. But once that dry flakiness like goes away, there will still be quite a bit of the red in there. And it should be about the same red as over here, maybe a little less. But because it's healed up fine, most of that skin kind of trauma, like the healing tissue on the outside, once that's completely gone and it's all healed, a lot of that color will come back. I'll show that off as it goes, because I don't really scab very often. It's probably a good time for me to speak a little about that, because I'm sure someone out there has wondered, like, hey, if I scab like this, am I going to have any color? And it's like, you'll probably have slightly reduced color, but as long as you take care of it properly, a lot of the scab is reabsorbed. So just the dry, flaky top bit of the skin will come off when it's ready to. I also had my fingers worked on last week, and they've peeled quite a bit since last time. Just letting them do their thing, and they take their time. I'll probably be wearing some like flaky like skin for the rest of the next week, or at least another week. I find my fingers take usually 2 weeks to fully peel, and it's not because they aren't healed, because what's under there is essentially healed. It's just this skin is so dry it holds on to shit forever. I actually have a session planned to do the other side, like these fingers, perhaps next week. I might cancel that. I haven't decided yet. I have a million other things I could do at the time anyway, but I'm not sure what I want to do with that yet. So that may end up happening, or something else may end up happening. I'm not sure. And then of course I'll be working on another section of my arm with Rick on our never-ending sleeve project here in just a few days. So to get to the meat and potatoes of this, obviously I had another session with Terry, and we got I think when I was thinking about the back piece this last time, I think I said what we did would be 2 sessions, and we got it all done in one. It was about 4.5 hours. We did the whole second pass of the white and black on the bottom, and then a full second pass of all the color except the background. So I'll go ahead and show that off real quick before I keep going on it. So hopefully I'm far enough back that you can see. I'll give you a bit of time to look. So as I'm making this video on the channel yesterday, session 2 has gone up, and it's taking people, like some people are seeing the picture already, but as I figured, most people are a little slower with it, and you got a lot of people going like things to say like, well, there's enough there that I can have an idea of what it's going to look like. It kind of looks cool. Like, people are still kind of on the fence, and a fun little thing that I like to do, because I do work pretty far ahead. My Instagram is, I'm still posting stuff from the end of February on my Instagram, and this is being made at the end of June, just for reference. I like to like see far in advance of the timeline, kind of like how people are reacting, and it's a bit of a social thing, like experiment for me, like gauging people's trust in my projects and things like this, because it's almost never the case that people just give me the benefit of the doubt, even though by now you would figure they would. It's almost always the case that people are like expecting these things to end up worse than they do, even though I've provided evidence and all this different proof that this stuff is very easily doable. I don't think people are ever really expecting a positive result. It's like been drilled into people that this can't work well, and so the expectation is always like, wait and see, but it's probably going to fail. And it used to be more frustrating, and these days I just find it kind of funny. Because, like, I already know, like, I know that it will work, and then it's just a matter of time for me. Like, even with this sleeve, like, this has been the labor of life, really. Like, this has been ongoing, and there's parts of it that still aren't up to snuff, like the hand, for example. But, like, when you can see that it's worked up here, that's the evidence that you need that it will work out other places. Same as my chest. Like, if you can get this here, then you can get this here. You know, it's not like it's a maybe. It's a guarantee that you can. It's just always about putting the time in. So for me, it's like, it's a different thing than it is for most people. And this back piece should be a beacon of hope for anyone who's watching this channel, because you'll know this was only session 7. Okay, so that's not 56 sessions on a sleeve. That's relatively doable. And for most people, this back piece would probably be done, but I'm not done yet. So we have at least 2 more sessions to go. And it could be 3. I could probably figure out 3 sessions to do. But realistically, right away, we have to do the blue background again, which did have its purpose. Like, it did its job. I don't know. Nope. This side's the one that has more. You could see the blue, right? And it did bust out the sleeve, and it bust out the back piece. But it needs to be solid. It needs to be more solid. And we'll probably choose a different light blue that doesn't just kind of come across as like white frost. It's still a cool effect to have that kind of misty white on top of the slightly deeper blue there. And I do want to keep them fairly light, but I want the frosty kind of blue to be less white and more blue. So it could even be a case of just using the same blue and mixing it with white, because that does work too. The turquoise on my neck here is mixed with white. So on its own, it actually has a bluer quality, and this just kind of cools it off a little bit more even. It goes to that more teal-y of the green blue, whereas on its own, it's a little bit more of a sturdy kind of blue on it, like more of a bluer blue, as odd as that sounds. So by mixing things with white, obviously, and mixing things at all, you get different colors. Pretty well every time Rick sets up for a color tattoo, he's got mixing yellow on the go. So there's some colors that you end up using more of than others when you're mixing colors, but with Terry and I, it's not quite as complicated. It's never as like with Rick, he's really enjoying mixing colors and seeing what works and what doesn't, and we've been doing that fuck around for years. Whereas with Terry and I, it's usually more like paint by numbers. And that's where you have something like this back piece ends up being incredibly readable, but not incredibly complex. So same thing with the rose sleeve. And even in his approach to retouching the chest piece, it's very like by the books, like this color here, this color there, which is a great approach. It keeps things simple and readable. So that's not to talk any kind of shit about that. It's just, it's not quite as experimental when Terry and I work together. It's a lot more just like proven methods put to work. And the value of working with Rick was like, there was no way that Terry and I probably could be doing what we're doing without that experimental nature of the journey that I've been on with Rick, for example. Because a lot of what Terry and I have done has been instructed by that same thing. Terry has done a lot of these projects now, and obviously Rick has too done quite a few cover-ups in general in his time. And these sorts of methods have been applied to those projects, right? So Terry has just finished the second pass on a giant color on black leg sleeve project for a girl who used to work at the shop here. He's going to be doing another full Japanese sleeve on a Blackout, and he did a wing on a guy. He did a snake that was white and black on black mixed with black and gray. We got another girl at the shop who's going to get a memorial piece for her father over black, and then the apprentice Ashlyn has a black arm from Terry. She's going to be getting a full Japanese concept from him, and these things are rolling out of here like crazy now. We have like at least one of these projects a week, and that's just growing. Like we're just getting started with it, and as long as I'm here at the shop, I feel like that's gonna happen. And even if Terry left now, like the fact that this shop is where EphemeralRemy resides, it will always be the case that we have these projects coming in. So it's good to have the proven method there. And the only way we got that was through experimentation. So there's value in fucking around and messing about. As a lot of people probably think that, especially with how easy this back piece has been to execute, that, like, why am I bothering with Rick if Terry can do all of this? And it's like, no, Rick and I are still fucking figuring shit out. Like, and by the way, like, different artists do different things. Like, I still don't think that Terry could have laid this piece out the way it is, and it's overly complicated nature. He would be able to execute it, but probably never to envision it. So there is a purpose to working with different artists with different mindsets and different styles, and some of them are going to be more efficient than others. It just is what it is. And then obviously, there's always the fact that I care for Rick as a person, and we've been friends for a long, long time. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that too much. It is what it is. I mentioned I think I have 2 sessions left. I'll be doing the background again. That's going to be 2 weeks from now. I'm taking another 2 weeks off the back. Let it all heal up. We're in a place with it now where it looks essentially done. So you can go longer in between sessions, and I have a pretty sure bet that it's not really going to age much in between. So you're basically like, you're taking it easy when you get to that place with these projects, and whatever work's left to do will actually benefit from the time in between. Whereas early on, you kind of want to get after it. You kind of want to get something in there that you can see, because when you just have things lined out, the line will get softer. It won't vanish. I've showed this before. I have lines over black that are over 4 years old that are still around. But it will get softer and therefore harder to see. So you want to get back in those lines as soon as possible. If you can't line it and fill it in one session, you should be back in there in a few weeks so that you don't lose clarity and then have to start relining shit, because then you're just going backwards. And I've gone backwards a lot. I've done the reps to figure that part out. So learn from my experience. If you are going to line it out first, get back into it with the black and white on black elements, or color on black elements, as soon as you possibly can. With that said, the session after that, what would be session 9, I'm planning to do a highlight / touch up, whatever needs to be touched up. I think that at the end of any sleeve, back piece, leg sleeve, whatever, any big project, I think every single big project should have a final highlight / touch up session. That's not just for work over black. I think that's for everything. Like, if I was booking a sleeve and I was expecting it to take 4 sessions, a black and gray sleeve, which is pretty typical for black and gray sleeves, to be completely honest, especially by people who do them every day, I would be booking 4 sessions for the entire sleeve, and then a 5th session for highlights, connectivity things, like smoothing things out and blending, and pulling things apart where they need to be, darkening parts if they need to be, lightening parts, white highlights, different things like that. That's pretty common, and that session usually doesn't take as long. In my case, it might be a full session. I don't know. It could only be a few hours. As of now, I have something like 30 to 35 hours into this piece already. So it's been an undertaking, but nothing crazy really. And any full color back tattoo will probably take that long. And you know, I have this weird thing with my back where it's like I often think of it like it's worse, and then I sit down and I find it pretty fucking easy. I don't know if it's because I feel so exposed, where it's all happening behind my back, or like, no pun intended, but it never feels as painful as I expect it to. And yesterday was the least painful session. And truth be told, about an hour after I had the tattoo, I could barely tell you I was tattooed. And I sat for 4.5 hours again. And you would think with building up layers, it would be getting more painful and more sore each time. My back seems to be getting used to it. Like, I could have slept on my back last night. I could work out today. I could be working out right now. I could end this video and go do fucking my workout for the day. My back is in no pain standing here. And, yeah, it's feeling halfway healed already. I know it's not, but there isn't that soreness that there was the first couple sessions. Part of that is probably because Terry doesn't have to work me as hard to get the second passes in. When you're brushing over things, it's much easier to do that than it is to build the color in the first time. You move a lot faster and you do a lot less damage to someone, and it hurts them less. So that could be the case. I don't know. It seems like my back, or at least my mental game towards getting my back tattoo, has gotten stronger throughout this, not weaker. And being that I'm just about at the end of it, and this project isn't going to have 1,000 revisions like my arm, it's going to be pretty much, once we're done, we're leaving it, and it'll get touched up like any other tattoo. Because it was the same thing with my other back piece, you know? It's not like I'm interacting with it all the time. I just want a cool piece back there and leave it. There's some places where I don't feel the need to, or rather, I guess I don't feel as creatively interested in changing all the time. My sleeves will always be one that I want to fuck with because, you know, they're on display all the time, and obviously I'm interfacing with them all the time, and they also don't hurt much. So, like, to me, there's almost zero cost in experimenting on my arms. Like, if I blacked this out again, I could do that in a session, theoretically, and I know I could heal it, and I know I could sit for it, and I know it'd only be a few months or a few weeks, in the case of my head, before I could fucking cover it over again. So, and since I am very, very familiar with this feeling in general, it does feel like a day off getting your arm tattooed, so it's not like again, it's a very low-cost thing for me. I have more apprehension about shaving my head than I do covering something, because I know that you can just build over it. So yeah, it seems I'll be working on my torso tentacles again before long, sooner than I expected to be. And I'll probably get into the light blue highlight run on my roses, on my arm and my neck. I never ended up doing that. I did always plan to do a third pass on the high points, so that's not a touch-up. That's just work I haven't gotten to yet, for anyone who's thinking that way. And yeah, I've got a few more big plans with Terry this year, but we're moving faster than I expected, so I could see being working on my legs within the next 6 months, honestly. Like, realistically, it's looking like my entire torso, for the most part, will be finished here within the year. And whatever Rick's doing with this arm, that's kind of off the record for that. That's a whole other thing, because that arm is basically finished now. If I wanted to walk away from this sleeve, I have confidence it would be fine, but it's not as good as I want it to be yet. So the work continues. Anyway, I will be talking to you guys here again in, I guess, 3 or 4 days. And yeah, have a great day.